Hey, stop right there.
Saturday was one of Elijah's favorite days.
Let's just go home.
A rare day off between the 12-hour shifts he worked at the massage studio.
I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking.
Starting the day with his routine 5-mile run in the neighborhood, then opening his current read.
I'm just different. That's all.
Elijah's that family member to volunteer to make a store run for everyone when nobody else wants to go.
I'm so sorry. I have no gun.
Just grabbing a couple of iced teas before heading home and settling back into the song he was teaching himself on the violin.
I don't even kill flies. I don't eat meat.
In a just world, it would have been any other Saturday for Elijah McClain. In August 2019, Elijah died 3 days after Aurora police put him in a chokehold and paramedics injected him with ketamine.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
All I was trying to do was become better.
All I was trying to do was become better. When you know Elijah's upbringing, you understand, quite possibly, no truer words were ever spoken.
When we were living in the car, you know, I would keep the smaller kids in the back.
Elijah's mother, Sheneen, raised 6 kids on her own, many years living between cars, hotels, and shelters.
We went through so much homelessness and poverty that it kind of just all meshes in together. The things that I do remember is how I survived through it.
Survival made a bit more bearable by her sweet-natured second oldest child.
I caught him sometimes when I went to go pick him up, climbing the trees. He would walk on his hands, and there was times I'd be like, son, why are you doing that? He's like, oh, I just got to expel the energy. But Elijah was always nice and polite and very helpful.
Sheneen moved Elijah and his siblings to Aurora in the 90s after their Park Hill home was shot up by gang members.
I moved to Aurora because I wanted my kids to have a better life, because I didn't want them to be surrounded by gangs, by violence, by things where they couldn't be their best self. And to still lose your son in a place that you moved to save his life is heartbreaking.
So when the ambulance gets here, we're going to go ahead and give him
All the cops are okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect, dude. Perfect.
Police took Sheneen to the hospital to see Elijah the next morning.
Get into the room, he's hooked up to all these machines. There was blood, you know, in his hair. He had head wraps, you know, he had bandages all around his body. And the doctor said he didn't have any bodily injuries, but we were still trying to see why he had bandages around him if he didn't have any body injuries.
Sheneen says by day 2, Elijah went from a victim to a suspect in the police narrative.
They talked about how they were going to find out what had happened. They knew something wasn't right. But then they come back talking about, well, your son is in the hospital because he tried fighting with the police officers. We tried to take him into custody and he wouldn't listen to any of the commands that he was given by the police officers. And it went from them trying to prove that something wrong had happened to him to them all saying the same thing, that it was his fault he was in the hospital because he didn't listen and comply.
On day 3, Sheneen started working on getting Elijah transferred to another medical facility who could better care for him. But Elijah would never leave his hospital room.
Literally, I was trying to save him, and I didn't get to.
Elijah was declared brain dead on Wednesday. The autopsy labeled his cause of death undetermined.
If I had had a better life, I could have gave a better life to Elijah.
It would take 2 months for Sheneen to see the body camera video.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's great. You're beautiful.
What was it like to hear him just be so measured and polite, knowing ultimately what his fate was going to be?
I was proud of him. I was proud of him in life. And to be proud of him in his death, it was weird because he handled himself so beautifully. You know, he showed those police officers the amount of humanity they didn't give him.
He's got a mask on his face, acting kind of weird. Nothing really criminal.
Did you ever think that maybe that was a dangerous choice that your son was making to wear that mask?
Not at all. He was a runner. Like, he would run out, he would run in the snow. He would run no matter what kind of weather it was, and the mask helped to keep the cold air from going in his nose.
Attorney General Phil Weiser opened a sweeping investigation in August 2020.
So a grand jury is considering charges against these officers. My question for you is, what do you hope comes out of it, and what do you expect? You know, I imagine those might be 2 different things.
I would love life in prison for all of them, but I expect them to be lenient
In the wake of Elijah's death, Aurora police banned carotid holds, the maneuver used to restrain Elijah, which caused him to say those heartbreaking 3 words we have heard far too often.
Finally, there's some real justice going on, and it's not being swept under the rug. I totally believe that if better laws had been in place before Elijah was murdered, that he would still be here today.
Colorado police reform might seem timely, but for Elijah, it came far too late.
I think probably the most heartbreaking thing you said in this interview is that you, in any way, blame yourself for what happened to your son. But I hope that you give yourself credit for the amazing man that he was, that the whole world now sees. And you do know that was because of you, right?
I'm gonna try my hardest to not blame myself, but as his mom, I was his caretaker. I was supposed to keep him safe. And even though he was grown, that was still my job.
What do you think Elijah would want you to do now?
Well, let's see here. Don't eat meat. But I definitely think he wants me to be happy. And he knows that that's not possible, so as close as I can get.
Have you found meaning and purpose out of your son's life?
Yeah, he always had meaning. He always had purpose. Now other people just know it.
Sheneen has used her quiet confidence that you saw there to push police reform in Colorado. Since Elijah's death, lawmakers have passed the police accountability bill, limiting the use of deadly force and requiring an officer to intervene if a fellow officer is using inappropriate force. Another bill limits the use of ketamine by EMTs, and she's very proud of these changes that have been made. But I thought it was really interesting. She didn't want to, release balloons or have a vigil or memorial today. She just she wanted to talk to us. She wanted people to see inside of her heart. She wanted to bare her soul, and the strength it takes to do that, I cannot fathom.
We thank you, because I needed to hear that. I needed to hear it. I think we all did. And she should be so proud of Elijah. And he is his mom's son.
That's her baby.
Yeah, she raised him well.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking to hear her put anything on herself when
Absolutely
her
not.
son did nothing
She did everything
wrong.
right. He did everything
She
right.
did nothing
Yeah.
wrong.
Yep, we've seen reform. Now it's time to see justice.
Thank you.